This is Marta Kristen, and you're listening to the FSF podcast.
The show where we try to use all 5 of our senses in every episode. But hey, if we're being honest, it's mostly our nonsense that shows up.
Our show is brought to you by our charity sponsor, the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund, which supports the Wish Upon a Teen Foundation that helps out sick kids when they need it most. And just imagine the comfort you'll give Red Shirt crewman number 122. She'll know that when she puts on the red shirt and joins John, Maureen, Judy, Penny, Will, and Don on being lost in space, that she didn't leave her family destitute and without hope, because the Red Shirt Widows and Orphans Fund has her back. And what's left of the robot. Danger! Danger!
All right, so guys, our guest today is an actress who not only hails from this great mitten state of Michigan that we are living in, but also has been entertaining audiences around the globe since the robot said "Danger, Will Robinson" on the original series run of Lost in Space. So guys, let's all have a big hand and a warm welcome for Marta Kristen to the FSF podcast. Welcome to the show, Marta.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Oh, we're excited. We had a chance to chat with you briefly at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con here in 2022, and you were so kind and gracious and said, yes, I would love to be on your show. And then we thought, boy, she doesn't know what she's getting into, but we're going to do this anyway.
I didn't, and I'm curious.
Well, we'll try to go easy on you, but
thank you. I appreciate that. No Howard Stern here.
No, we're not anywhere near that, but we're a little more family friendly.
I just want to say one thing. I have a dog right at my feet here.
Oh, great! We love dogs.
Well, she's scrappy and she's noisy. She might just bark a little bit.
That's okay.
Okay.
It won't be the first celebrity dog that has barked.
No.
Just as long as you know it's not me.
No, we've had several dogs make their camera debuts on our show, so it wouldn't be the first time, so it'll be all right.
Thank you.
Well, Marta, we talk with a lot of different artists about their backgrounds and what got them into what they do for a career. But not everyone that we talk to is also from Michigan. Now, I understand that you were raised in and around the Detroit area. So I live on the west side of the state over by Lake Michigan. Nick's more in the middle of the state and actually closer to Detroit. Yeah, so it's the only state where we get to show off our hand as our map. I live here. Nick lives more over here.
I'm here.
There you go. So I have to know, what are your fond memories of Michigan from growing up, and how did being a Midwestern Scandinavian help you move forward in your career?
I love the fact that I was raised in Michigan. We had 5 acres. My dad taught at Wayne State University, taught philosophy there. My mother was a 4th grade school teacher / businesswoman. It was a childhood where I could play softball in the summers with bare feet running around and climbing trees. I was always an outdoor kid. My dad built us a huge slide between 2 big elm trees. And I would play Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, and I'd set up my tent, and I'd spend most of the time camping out in my backyard, which was 5 acres. It was just, also I loved horses. There was a barn not too far away, and I would clean the muck up and the horses' hooves, and so I could at least get a free ride at some point during the week. And it was an interesting time in my life, because I also loved acting. I was adopted when I was 5 from Norway and came to Michigan, which was pretty close to, the weather was pretty close to what we had in Norway. Not quite as cold as Norway, but close to it. And I didn't have this great divide of, like, when I moved to California, and I said, oh my God, California is, apples and oranges, I guess, but
Sure.
Really, really different. But yeah, Michigan, I started in theater there. My dad and mom got me into the Detroit, actually the Wayne State University Children's Theater.
Okay.
And also the Willoway Theater in I think it was Bloomfield Hills. And I
Yeah.
was raised in Farmington. They changed it to Farmington Hills, I guess, to make it sound fancier. But
I think they
253,
added to it because
they
I know
added
that's over by about where I'm at, kind of. So,
they added again.
um,
It's
well, I know Bloomfield Hills still exists, but then like there's like the Farmington Hills, and I don't
but
know.
it was
There's
but it was Farmington, and I thought you said like it's Farmington Hills and Beverly Hills combined with no. Farmington was a great place to grow up, and I have friends from there. It was really it was an interesting childhood, especially because of the theater that I did, and dancing, tap dancing, and singing, and I always would perform at the school, and that's pretty much what I did at the orphanage.
Okay.
Uh, my parents told me that I got off the airplane walking like Charlie Chaplin, this kind of thing. And it must have been, as a child, you find a way to survive, and that was my survival technique, just to make them laugh,
Make
make them
people
laugh.
laugh, sure.
Yeah.
So is that what you feel like kind of helped you get into the mode of being an actress and wanting to perform? Was that bit during your childhood, or was there something else as you grew older and you were, was there a television show, or was there another actress or somebody you watched that you wanted to emulate? Did that help as well, or was it just the sense of I wanted to perform?
A bit of both. I loved performing. It took me out of my head. Because as an orphan, you have scars.
Sure.
And it helped me almost in a therapeutic way, that I could get outside of myself and to be somebody else and to say someone else's words, and to fantasize about that, to have that, to have the other life. It sounds a little schizophrenic, but it wasn't. It was a way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
To communicate my feelings through a character, through someone else, and it wouldn't be so painful, and it was allowable.
That
Yeah.
actually makes a lot of sense to me, because in a as close as I can relate to that. So this is the third show that I have hosted. So I hosted this one. I hosted a sister show to this called Pop Culture Addicts for a while with our co-host Kathleen, who's under the weather tonight. But there was another show that I hosted by myself called Focused on Forward, and I started with that after my daughter got out of the hospital. And it was a way for me to it was an escape. It was a way for me. I would play the role of a podcast host to talk to other people and kind of talk about their issues and problems and what they were doing to move forward in their lives through all the issues and things that they had gone through. And so for me, it gave me that escape and ability to kind of disconnect from things that were going on in my own world for a little bit and focus on somebody else. So to some degree, I can kind of relate, I feel like, to what you're saying there.
How is she doing now?
She's doing much better. We've been out of the hospital for 3 years, and there's some other issues. There's some secondary conditions that have set in from the Guillain-Barré syndrome that she has. But she's a fighter, and she's just as stubborn as I am. She is my mini me, so she's doing her best to push through and work through it.
Good. I'm glad. I'm very
Thank you.
glad. Yeah, it takes strength and courage to go through an illness like that, and to realize the pain and the fear
Mm-hmm.
of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my husband had cancer, and I and we dealt with that, and it was it's hard, and I appreciate it. She's in my prayers.
Well, thank you very much. We'll accept those happily.
Thank you. I hope so.
So, Marta, we love to hear stories. And one of the stories that we don't often get to hear are the behind the scenes moments, especially with like a show of like Lost in Space. What was like one or two of your favorite moments, whether it be funny or heartfelt, that happened kind of behind the scenes, but on set?
Oh gosh, there's so many. there's so many. We would work long hours on Friday, especially because they could keep us late. And we would start laughing so much. We would start giggling. You know how once it starts, you can't stop. And all we had to do was take a look at somebody else, and we would just start laughing and laughing and laughing. So Erwin would have to come down and, like, the school teacher going, the principal, all right, get it together, guys. Time is money, and we all go, oh yeah, and he would, like, sort of stand on the sidelines. And he was the producer. That was his job. But there were other things, like Mark injured his foot in one of the episodes. He fell down and injured his foot, and he got a letter from some, what is it, photophile, whatever it is, who said how much she enjoyed, or he enjoyed, how he, expressed himself with so much pain about his foot, and is it all right now? And so we all got together and sent a letter saying, we really enjoyed your letter. It was quite a feat. And I mean, yeah, it was just, I mean, silly things like that went on. Jonathan every Friday would bring lollipops to the set, and that's sort of a well-known fact. And he would hand them out to the crew and everybody there. And there were Tootsie Rolls. And so everybody probably had to go to the dentist because of him, but multiple times, because we'd all be, biting into that Tootsie Roll and chewing away. But what was fun was to see how Jonathan worked the room. I mean, he was authentic. He wasn't being, he didn't do it because for any other reason than he wanted to show the crew that how much he cared about them. And so every Friday night out came the Tootsie Rolls. And I thought Jonathan is teaching me a great lesson that every young actor should know. And that is that when you go on the set, you learn names of everyone and their families, and you learn about their jobs and what they do, and you talk to them, and you sit on the set and you watch everybody do their job, and that's how directors are made. And it's a family. If it's not a family, if the set is full of anxiety and turmoil, you're not going to get a good product. But if like I've heard, I don't know whether it's apocryphal, that George Clooney doesn't allow any kind of negativity on his set. And if there is, then you go home. And I like that. That's
a good rule. I like that rule.
Because you're together, 24/7 almost. Yeah, especially when you're outside of the studio.
Yeah, that's a good rule. I like that.
And I'm pretty sure working on set, especially with the monkey. What was the monkey's name?
Oh, Debbie.
That's it. Yep. And was that the actual monkey's name, or was that the monkey's stage name?
That's what we called her.
Okay.
And the poor thing. She had to wear. She's a chimpanzee, and chimpanzees are, once they become an adult, they can be quite dangerous. And she bit Angela briefly.
Oh no!
And they pulled all her teeth. Oh, Debbie. And we all felt so badly about that, especially Angela, because Angela said, wait a minute, what have I done? And of course it wasn't Angela. They're animals, they're unpredictable. And, but she had to wear that thing on her head, and then and they perfumed her so much. She wore diapers, and, it was it, but eventually after the show, they sent her down to San Diego to a special chimpanzee place,
Nice.
and she lived out her years there. And it was, I think, in the late, well, maybe early 2000s that Billy sent me an email saying, "Debbie dead," and I,
Oh,
Debbie's dead. I felt
Aw.
yeah, but she lived a good long life and a
oh
good happy
yeah.
life after that.
Good.
Like
She deserved
40
it.
years.
Yeah,
Probably.
50,
Yeah.
40, yeah, 40, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So
Impressive.
yeah, yeah, Debbie dead. I did a show. I remember years ago I did a show in Texas, and I always ask people for their, their name, and so I can personalize the autograph. And I said, "Well, what's your name?" And she goes, "Devin." I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "Devin." I said, "Could you spell that?" Debbie. And I said, "Oh, Debbie. Oh, Debbie. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. I love doing conventions. Conventions.
Mhm.
I love the people. I love the people who come up and tell me how much we were a part of their childhood. And of course I love when they say, "Well, you were my first crush." Oh, shucks. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, and did you see Galaxy Quest?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I thought that was such a love letter to these conventions,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
yeah, and to space shows, and
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Um,
Absolutely fantastic.
And now, a word from our show sponsor, Level Up Savers. Their link can be found in the show notes.
You know, Marta, I think it's safe to say that, looking back on your experiences through Lost in Space and such, that we never really truly understand the impact of something, and while we're in the middle of doing it, sometimes that impact isn't truly recognized for some time yet down the road. And you're seeing that now with conventions and all these things, and I'm sure you've seen that for years. But when it comes to Lost in Space, the original series has held the attention of the public since its cancellation in 1968. People have been, clamoring for it and excited about it, and it's stayed so popular that there was a new series that spawned on Netflix, and there was a movie adaptation on the 30th anniversary of the cancellation for the Lost in Space movie. Still didn't understand why Matt LeBlanc was in that, but that's not the point.
hey, he's in Friends. Wait a minute.
That's right. I kept waiting for him to turn a corner and be like, "How you doing?" Anyway, so why do you think that Lost in Space has stayed so popular with the pop culture world?
Well, I think pop culture is the right word, because it really did reign supreme in the very beginning of pop culture and on television, especially, of course, when the second and third season went into color, and the first season was rather dark. It was real sci-fi. It was a show about family adventure series going out into the family going out into space. And I think the reason, though, that our show resonates, and I don't think it was carried on into the other the movie and the other series. It was the great caring that we had for each other. We really tried to show a tenderness and a that we're. I mean, it wasn't overt, but there was that struggle that we had being out there with no one else, no friends around, and surrounded by aliens, even though they were sort of, they weren't, nowadays, of course, you've got CGI and everything has changed, but they were, aliens that kids could love. And, and they would be scared. Kids love to be scared. God, adults love to be scared. So, that's why horror films do so well. And we're still waiting for the hand to, take you away. And we have that element too in our show. But mostly, I think underlying everything, no matter how many monsters we had and how many issues, how many blasts, how many explosions we had, we cared about each other. And I talk to people now who come up to me at conventions or in my own just everyday life and say, loved Lost in Space. My family loved it. We sat around. We had a great time. I live in a great community. It's manufactured homes and we have a clubhouse. And when we just had a big get together, Friendsgiving was called, and people one after the other came up and said, no matter what age, came up and said, oh my gosh, Lost in Space was my favorite show, and my kids are watching it, or my grandkids are watching it now, and we get such a kick out of it. But it's also very sweet, and it's very kind most of the time. And adults can watch it and say and have a giggle, and teenagers can roll their eyes, and grandparents can watch the show with their grandkids and not be afraid that something nasty or something untoward is going to happen.
Very good. Yeah, I think that's an excellent answer, and I think for all those reasons are reasons why it's stuck around. It's had that ability to touch multiple generations all at the same time, and it is something that people could watch together. And I think that's a lot of what we look at entertainment that's out and available today. That's kind of what some of the things are missing. A lot of the things that are coming out are, a more adult theme, more adult based shows. And that's great because I'm an adult and none of my kids are of that younger age anymore, but it would be hard for me to find, would be harder for me now, I think, to find shows like a Lost in Space where you could sit down as a family and watch it together and, all that kind of stuff.
And on prime time.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, there were only 3 networks, so they didn't have much of a choice. So I don't know. I think that there's too much violence on television. There's too much. It's like I'm done with it. I'm tired of it. And shoot 'em ups. I'm tired of it. Where give me a show that has some real characters, some real moral lessons, something that I can take away with and feel good about. I mean, like this morning when Greiner was released from the Russian prison. I mean, I just cried and cried and cried because I was so relieved to find that there's some kind of, that she was going to be happy, that she was going to, be in that.
Sure.
Come back here to the great United States. And it was hopeful. And, I think we just need, I know it sounds so cheesy and so out of date, but I just wish there were more shows. I'm not talking about Lifetime. I mean, Lifetime is fine, but I'm not talking about melodrama. I'm talking about real issues of what that we human beings have, and let's rather than shoot 'em ups, let's deal with other things.
No, I get that.
Yeah,
I don't think something that's hopeful is ever out of date, though. I think that's something we always need.
yeah, I do too. I'm always hoping.
I usually go back and watch
hoping I look okay, hoping my hair is all right. No, kidding.
That's why I wear a hat.
I don't spend that much time, believe me. But love my girls and my. God, I'm going to sound strange, but I just love being in this amazing neighborhood with people that. Vernon Wells is my neighbor from Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The bad guy. Well, he's one of the nicest men ever. We've already done 2 movies together, and we're going to do 2 more. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. Oh, he's amazing. And his wife, Grace. And they're my neighbors. They live right next door. And then I have another one. I have a neighbor who is a sexologist who wrote books on Playboy bunnies. I have and had her own show, her own TV show. And behind me is a children's book writer, an award-winning Deborah Lattimore, children's book writer. So yeah, I'm surrounded by artistic people. And,
That's awesome.
That's cool.
And hope. Oh, you don't care about that, but anyway.
No, we're always glad to hear that kind of stuff because that's part of what makes you who you are, and it's also a continuation of your story and where you're at and what you're doing at this stage of your life. So it's always nice to hear that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
So certainly Lost in Space was definitely a project that was close to your heart. Did you have any other projects that were maybe a little less known that were also close to your heart, but you would wish had a little more love to them?
Well, I did a lot of theater, and I founded a theater company with a small group of people, which was voted the best small theater company in Los Angeles by NPR. And I was with them for quite a long time. And then I did a play called Wings, Arthur Kopit's Wings. I was compared to the what is it that holds up the Notre Dame Cathedral, and my performance. It's a 90-minute show, pretty much a monologue, and a woman who has a stroke and had been a wing walker, and that was really quite a challenging but exciting, and what I found. I was able to, in preparing for the role, I was able to sit in with a group of people who had strokes, who had a stroke at the Daniel Freeman Hospital, and they allowed me to sit in with them, which was very kind. And I found that they all had a great sense of courage, and so that's what I found in this woman: great courage to live, to get beyond her problems, and then to go softly and gently into that good night.
Nice.
Excellent. Okay.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Since 1982, Vital Signs and Graphics has been helping professionals with all their image, logo, and design needs. Perhaps you're looking for signs and banners, truck and trailer lettering, business cards, brochures, or other image and marketing aids. Vital Signs and Graphics in-house design studio has you covered. From logos to apparel, start to finish, Vital Signs and Graphics has everything you need to look and feel professional. Call Rick at 231-652-3300. He'll get you noticed.
Welcome back to the FSF Popcast.
All right, so Marta, we also asked our 208,000 member Facebook group if they had any questions for Marta Kristen, and our group member Jim Ross wanted to know the following. So Jim Ross, this is for you. He would like to know if Marta still has her spacesuit.
No, and one of my costumes just sold for $70,000.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I know. Oh dear. Oh my.
Wow. All right, so let's take this question one step further from Jim's question. Are there sometimes there's souvenirs that people take home with them from set? Do you have any souvenirs from the set that you still hold on to?
No, because we were supposed to go another year.
True.
Yeah, it was in the books. I found out that we weren't renewed on the phone one day when I was just walking around the house, and And I was disappointed, of course, because I had felt that my space family was my kind of family, and
Yeah.
I had made friends, and June and Guy taught me Killer Scrabble. They were so wonderful, so funny and smart. Oh my God. June is one of the smartest women I know. My mother was brilliant, and June is equally brilliant and informed, and I learned so much from her, and including Killer Scrabble.
All right, Jim Ross, I hope that answers your question for you.
Well, what was the question again? I probably didn't answer it.
No, you did. He wanted to know
Oh.
if you still had your spacesuit. So
Oh no,
you said,
that's right. No,
yeah,
no.
you said no. So
I'm rambling here.
that's okay. We like rambling. Rambling adds
good.
more detail. It's
I
like the
did
spices
notice.
added to a meal. So
I did notice you have. I think it's robot on
I
your shelf behind you.
I do. This is my Christmas robot. All I have. That's all I have. You know what I saw, and I really want. Somebody came in, and I signed a parrot. What do you call it? Action figure.
okay.
From the Great Vegetable Rebellion. I thought that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Also, at one of the shows I did, the Northeast Comic Con, Gary Summers' show, they have a costume contest, and a guy came in, complete 6-foot carrot. And it was perfect. It was perfect. Stanley Adams would be proud, and I just laughed and laughed and laughed. And I took pictures with him. I mean, what dedication that was. And I couldn't quite figure out why he would choose that, but it was iconic. I mean, it's a completely iconic figure, the giant carrot. I have to find that.
So I noticed on IMDb a film coming into 2023 called Escape from Earth, in which you appear to reprise your role as Judy Robinson. What can you tell us about this movie and your role in it?
Oh, you mean it's in the animation?
I think so.
I
You think
hope
it's
so,
animated?
because I
There
don't.
was like
Otherwise,
really little about it, so I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like,
I don't. I hope it's an animation one, because I don't. Otherwise, I don't remember doing it. No, that would be a problem. That would be a problem. You'd have to get the hook. Anyway, yeah, it's just a wonderful animation by Tim. Oh, forgive me, his name. Another Tim. I could look it up. Anyway, it's an animation, and Phil Hamilton did all the animation for it, and Tim wrote the script. It's bringing Lost in Space back to where they had hoped it would go, and resurrecting the characters, and telling more stories about Lost, and what we did in the 60s, using those characters and our characters, and and so I can't tell you much about it. I don't want to give it away, but it's going to be on YouTube soon.
is it more episodical or is it like a more full length?
It's more full length, but it's hard to. They're now like in doing the third one, and so I'm just doing voiceover, and of course, and it's so much fun. I love voiceover. I don't know whether you know that I studied with Gary Austin, who founded the Groundlings, and I studied with him for years, and improv, and I think everyone should do improv. I mean, everyone. And so my point is that in improv, you work on voices, you work on characters. Like I do a pugilist who's a little bit little over boxed, and
Right.
like that. Or, child with a lisp, I mean, but you have fun. You just have fun finding these characters in yourself that you've observed. Or I can do Jonathan, I do, I don't know, female Jonathan. Oh, it's always good to bring those out when you're, especially doing scene work it's just, and this voiceover, you can find all of those. So you see the character and you go, oh, I could do that with that fish or that gorilla or that squirrel or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I look forward to seeing that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to IMDb, the writer's name is Timothy Williams.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Timothy Williams and Phil Hamilton is the director.
And Phil Hamilton, thank you. Yes, Timothy Williams. All I know, I just communicate with him. It's Tim. So, hey, Tim.
Okay.
Yeah, Timothy Williams. That's right. Sorry,
Excellent.
Tim. Sorry, Tim.
All right, Marta, we have one
more thing. He's very, very, very talented and very thoughtful. And man, his scripts are so good and filled with challenging things that have to be dealt with. And yeah, he's really good. He's really good. And Phil is a great animator. So yeah, it'd be fun.
All right, cool.
Cool.
All right, we have one final question for you, Marta, and we like to call this our silly question. This is how we get towards the conclusion.
It hasn't been? No, sorry.
Well, some of it. Well, we have. All right, this is the final silly question. We'll put it that way. All right, so if you could be, and you have to choose one or the other. If you could be Batman or Robin, who would you choose and why?
Oh, Batman, of course. I dated Robin.
Did
Which
not
one?
know that. We've interviewed Robin. Did not know that.
I did. I dated him for a very brief time. And he wrote a book,
Yes, he did.
autobiography, and he said that he dated a blonde who had been in a sci-fi series who chased him with an axe. I never chased him with an axe.
Was it a
I
hatchet?
promise you.
It wasn't a full axe. It was a hatchet. Get your story right.
Yes. I was so bad. Somebody said, did you chase him with a hatchet? I said, no, an axe. No. No. So, I would, because Bert was nice, but Adam West was sexy. And I loved him because there's so many Batmans throughout the films and throughout these years. And I don't know, Adam, he just had that deep voice and this sort of, charisma about him that just was quiet and strong. And, I sort of adored him. And I would see him at shows, and I would go, oh, there he is, Batman. But they were opposite us,
Right.
And yeah, they were supposed to do. I think they started 2 nights a week, but we beat them in the ratings, so they cut that Wednesday night. And so we had. Our show was good, and it was always in the top ratings. So it was a puzzle to me why we were canceled. But them's the what happens.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I'm not
very
making,
good.
I'm not making any sense. Cut that one out.
No, you did fine.
Well, Marta, thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and your work?
Well, my Facebook, but I don't get online enough. I don't do enough connecting. I just am so busy. I'm always I paint. I did this painting here. I did write a children's story, and I'm trying to get the illustrations done. A little painful, so emotionally painful. And I take I scene study and improv, and I'm always running around like crazy. And I'm up at 7 a.m. and bed at like midnight. And it's, get up and do it again.
Well, thanks.
Well, thank you. This was so much fun.
It
glad to
was.
have-
We
You're
enjoyed having you.
speechless. You're speechless.
I was. I was just so awestruck, and usually Kathleen does this next part, and
And he
Oh,
forgot
yeah.
that Kathleen's not here and that he has to do it. So
Kathleen, I hope you feel better. It's that
So-
time of year. Get your shots.
absolutely.
Or you say in Michigan, shots. Shots.
Yeah.
People say you have an accent to me, and I say, no, I don't. I'm from Michigan. How can I have an accent?
Well, we kind of do as Midwesterners. We say water instead of water, And
You say supper instead of dinner.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with me, they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
As long as you don't call me late for dinner, we'll be okay. All right, guys, I want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing that you can do to ensure that we get more amazing guests like Marta Kristen here today and have these funny moments for you guys to be able to listen to. So please do take the time to subscribe. It helps well more than we can ever really tell you. And be sure to go check out Marta's work as well. But for whatever reason, if you are not happy with our show today, please feel free to lodge a complaint with the head of our complaint department. That is, of course, Robbie the Robot, who is still sour that he didn't get the full-time robot gig on Lost in Space. So send in only one copy of her complaint to this embittered robot, and Robbie will make sure that your disgust for our lack of ability will be handled in the between Comic-Con appearances and battles with the actual robot from Lost in Space. Robbie is fully equipped and ready for battle. On second thought, how about you just send your complaints to Judy Robinson? She seems nicer, and less murdery is always better.
No, but I forgot to say, I'm in 2 movies. One called The Bachelor's Valentine, and the other is called Brenda and Oliver. And they'll be out soon.
Excellent. We'll look forward to those.
Nice.
I'm not a good promoter of myself. So
That's okay. We'll put those in the notes and so that everybody can find them.
okay.
All right. So thanks again, Marta. We appreciate you coming on the show.
It's so much fun. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Marta.
Thank you.
That's going to conclude us for the FSF Popcast. Goodbye.
Ciao.
Bye.
On behalf of the rest of the hosts of the FSF Popcast, we want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you'd like to be a guest on a future episode, please contact us by means of Twitter or Instagram using the handle @FSFPopcast. Or go to www.fsfpopcast.com and click on the Contact Me link. Thanks again, and hope you enjoyed the episode.